Hey, welcome to Casual Yelling. We got something special for you because of the move from Substack to Patreon. Every episode of I Just Want to Talk to Friends was wiped from the server. However, I have everything saved, so they're going to be right here on Patreon for free. I'm going to upload some of the old episodes that I really enjoyed, and that's about it. You're going to hear me say, I just want to talk to friends, but just keep in mind this is a rebrand, so it's under Casual Yelling. All of these episodes have previously been put up on Substack under the I Just Want to Talk to Friends banner, so if you were a fan of that and had already listened to these episodes, you're going to hear the same stuff. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep all the stuff I like on the new website. That's it. Thank you for subscribing or not. I don't know what you do. Rate and review us on iTunes. Thanks. The year was, I don't remember, somewhere along the lines of 2007, 2008. I was a student at Columbia College in Chicago, and my sister, also a student at Columbia College Chicago, told me she was in class with a wrestler named Matt. He was training to be a wrestler, and then a few years later, I saw him on NXT. We had been friends on Facebook for a little while, and then not friends because I deleted Facebook. And I really enjoyed the character of Aiden English. This is Matt Rehwoldt we're talking about. And it made me a fan of NXT because NXT during this time was such a cool place of experimentation and trying to figure things out. And it really was a developmental brand during this time period, not a third brand like it is now. So when I was hosting the Comic Vine podcast called The Endless Promo with Corey Schrader, this was a few years before Wrestle Buddies became a thing, I reached out to Matt and said, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? And he responded no, because at that time, I didn't know the proper channels for getting a wrestler on your podcast. Spoiler alert, you go through PR. Now, years later, after The Endless Promo, after Wrestle Buddies, after me at GameSpot, Matt and I reconnected online and through Twitch, and now he's on our show. I say our because you're part of the family of I Just Want to Talk to Friends as well, so please enjoy this episode with the Drama King, TNA commentator, announcer, and Twitch guy, Matt Rehwoldt. Hey, we did it. Welcome to I Just Want to Talk to Friends, a show about existential crisis and trauma and grief. Wow. Yep, I always love seeing the look on the person I'm interviewing's face when I say that out loud. I'm Matt Elfring. With me today is someone I admired on television, someone who I think graduated college with me at the same time, and someone we'll get into it.
Yes.
And someone who is now just having fun on the internet, and I think that's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Drama King Matt Rehwoldt, how are you, sir?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Hanging in there, having a great time. Just having
Yeah,
fun.
I mean, hanging in there. And with just how Fair said you're on a couple bouts of the old vid, so you truly are hanging in there, and I applaud you.
Yeah. Bout 4 with COVID. Oof. Wasn't as bad as the first time before the vaccine where I was out 6 weeks.
See, all right, I know all of this sucks, but to be fair, now, I mean, you're here, you're talking to me, you're undefeated against COVID.
Pretty much.
Technically, I mean, if you're still standing there, I would imagine its gravity or its measure of success would be to destroy its host.
Yes.
So if you're still here, you're like the Undertaker against COVID.
Pretty much. Yeah, I am. I'm 4-0.
Yeah. COVID's your mania, bro.
If you ever want to hear me full-blown pre-vaccine with COVID, the podcast I did with GameSpot, Wrestle Buddies, I think it's like episode 2. We interviewed Dalton Castle, and I am full-blown just like, hey, we're here having a good conversation.
It's the best.
Real good interview. Here's the thing. I don't think we've never met in real life.
Right.
I may have interviewed you once when I was at GameSpot. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. But we did go to college together. Kind of.
Right. So you're a Columbia guy.
I'm Columbia, yeah.
And then what year did you graduate?
I finished school in 2007, but I didn't walk until 2008.
So I finished 2010.
Oh, okay.
So we were crossing, and I went 06 to 2010.
Yes, you were.
Straight
I
through.
remember
So
you were in a class with my sister, and
okay.
my sister would like sent me to your Facebook, like, "Hey, this is like Matt. He's in a class with me, and he wants to be a wrestler." I'm like, "Oh, that's like cool, like awesome." I wish
Oh,
you the
that's
best.
I was trying to Jess, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yes. That's right. I remember. Absolutely.
yeah. And then like it was like 2 years later, I think, like you were just on NXT. You were on my television. Maybe 3 years.
I mean, it was probably, I mean, I finished college in 2010, then went to train in Florida, just off of women, and just wanted to try it, and then came back to Chicago, and then was signed by 2012, but I probably didn't pop up on NXT till 2013.
Yeah. Here's a really important question that relates to you. When you graduated, who was the speaker? Who was like the famous speaker?
I was literally thinking about this the other day. I think he was an actor and or comedian. And this is going to bug the crap out of me because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember it being one of those like, oh, that's kind of cool. But like, no, I'm not like some big fan of him. We'll keep talking. I'm gonna look it up, but we'll keep talking. I can multitask.
Mine's gonna make you jealous. Well, we had Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Damn.
Yeah,
that's cool.
They played Shining Star for us,
and they performed. They didn't just like, yo, you kids have like a great graduation.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. They actually performed too.
They performed
cool.
Shining Star, and it was, I think, like the only time in college I was super happy.
That is actually really cool.
Who was yours?
I'm trying to. Oh,
you're still looking that up.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm old. I can't. I'm like, where's the button for the thing? You know what? I can't. It won't let me hit enter.
Do I hit it harder?
Yeah. Wait. It's telling me I'm not supposed to do it. Oh, the commencement program. Look at that. Isn't it funny how you
have that on your phone?
Well, no, or is that just on that's the first link that comes up. I said 2010 Columbia College Chicago commencement, and it has the full program. Robert Klein. The actor.
Robert Klein.
Yeah, if you look him up real quick, you'd be like, oh, that guy who I've seen him in like bit parts in comedies and stuff. Yeah. So that's what I mean. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It wasn't like some mind-blowing thing, but I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Like, but both of my sisters and I graduated from Columbia, all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like my sister Adrian had, who was it? Dionne Warwick.
Okay.
And like I was cool. Like, I know Dionne Warwick. It's not particularly something, I don't listen to her music or whatever.
Sure, same.
I was like, that's interesting. And I was expecting, like, for me, a level of Dionne Warwick excitement. Like, and then we get there and the bassist from Earth, Wind, and Fire like walks up. I'm like, hold on a second. Like, this guy looks familiar. And then a few other members of the band walk up, and I'm losing my mind at that point. Like, I'm the only guy in the film department. Like, you guys have no idea like who this is. They're gonna kill it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Good on Columbia. A couple of good commencement speakers.
There was some good concerts, like at least in the film department, in like the first level. We had Catch 22 play a couple times, which was
that's cool.
Really nice. Like that was it was a good college. I liked it.
Yeah. I agree. I had a great time.
Yeah, and then you transitioned yourself from acting into acting.
I mean, I did one at the time. I literally did one because of the other.
Yes,
that was kind of the plan. Was I wanted to wrestle, and I was like that. And when I was in high school, when I was a teenager, that was the end all be all. But my parents, one thing was please just go to college. That's all we ask. Just go to college. I don't care what for. Just go. Get a piece of paper that said this back at the time when, which I feel like has changed a little bit of how important a degree is, right?
Yes.
And everything like that. And that was their point. It's just like, so if by chance we believe it, like they were very cool. We believe in you, follow your dreams, all stuff. But if all fails, you have something that says I went to school for 4 years beyond high school. Like, I can work on things, right? So I got a theater degree, the most worthless piece of $100 and something thousand probably ever to exist in the history of mankind. But yeah, so with the idea of like, all right, I want to wrestle. I'm like, whatever I'm doing in these next few years, I want it to play into that. So like that. And that's also between high school and going into college, I started getting to like working out and getting in shape. And that's even why I focused when I was doing the theater department, doing stage combat. I was like, well, any little tip or trick I can pull from here. I know it's different things, but it's falling down, it's faking, it's a faux fight, it's theatrical combat to woo an audience. So I was like, even though they're very different, I'm like, if there's anything that can cross over, and there ended up being a lot of things that would cross over to help out in wrestling down the line when I'm pursuing that, like let's do it. So that was the reason that I tried out for my first play my senior year of high school, because it was like, well, okay, I'll get a start on this, because I was going to go to a school for screenwriting.
That's what I did.
Yeah, that's originally what I wanted to do. I wanted to, because I thought I was a good writer as a kid, and I think I was. I just don't know that I had the discipline to do it for a living.
Yeah,
like, man, that is another. I have the discipline to do a lot of different things. The discipline to sit down and write, like, you know all about it. I mean,
yeah.
It's different. Like it's especially with creative writing, because it's this, and I guess it's true of like all arts in a way, but to have that idea of like, this is both a craft and a skill as well as like an art, because there's so many people who struggle with that. Like, well, art, I need to be inspired to do XYZ, but I'm like, sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And like, because sometimes you just have to work on it. You just have to write. It may not be your best thing ever. Like, sometimes you just need to be in the habit. You can't wait 6 years for like, that's the idea.
Oh yeah.
Painters, that you just got to paint. Maybe 90% of it'll be shit. Yeah. But like, that's how you'll find your masterpiece. That's how you find your, I mean, I guess the closest thing I can think to do it is almost like doing indies on the wrestling. Something doing every like, you're gonna try some stuff out, man. You got to keep working. You can't just like hope that the best thing ever will just pop up and happen one day. So yeah, it's very cool. But yeah, once I tried out for that first play, though, that's when I after a friend was like, just try this. Like, we always have fun together, and like you like kind of like acting out and performing stuff. So like, just try out for the play. And I was like, okay, and I got the lead.
Really?
In my first ever play. I think solely because I could do, for a 17, 18-year-old, mind you, in suburban Illinois, I could do a passable Irish dialect.
Oh, no, you have to do it now.
Because
I know it's been years.
It has been a while. Well, because so it was helped because my grandpa and grandma on my mom's side, who were immigrant from Ireland, off the boat from Ireland I think they came over in the 50s, maybe late 40s. And yeah, so then they eventually, by the time I was in like middle school and they were getting older, they moved in with us. So like I was here and we visited them often, but then we were living with them. And so like I grew up with that. And so the play was actually a really interesting play, especially for high schoolers, because there's a lot of subtlety to it. It's called Translations.
Okay.
And it's all about the British coming into Ireland and forcing them to speak English after, because what people don't know, most people have heard of Gaelic.
Yeah, I know.
But there's an entire, it's Irish. It's not, Gaelic is a form of Irish, but Irish is its own unique language. And that's what they spoke until the English came across the channel and poked them with spears and whatnot and made them speak the Kings. So, but it's all about that. Where like I was a Irish translator who moved to England, and now they were bringing me in to try to like communicate with my old village and your old family.
Yeah.
To try to get them to kind of cooperate with these guys or they're going to kill you. And of course you have like the rebellious ones who are like, no, and you try to save them from getting themselves killed. And it's actually really interesting little play. But
hey, editor Matt here, and there's no way to transition this whatsoever. During the recording of this episode, in which I told my parents, don't stop by my house during this time I'm going to be talking to somebody, they stopped by like 15 minutes into the recording and to drop something off and pick something up. And just, there's no way to transition between what Matt was saying and where the conversation heads without saying like, hey, this is what happened. I cut like 3 minutes of audio out. Let's just jump right back in. So what's so weird? Thanks, Mom. My mom just walking into the place like she owns it.
I mean, like, she kind of like she owns you in a weird way, in a weird kind of twisted way. That's how I think of family. It's really healthy. My parents own me so I'm in constant debt because family's transactional.
Yeah.
And but anyway, if for anybody listening, I said that because it's funny. I actually have a really good relationship with my family. I'm very, very grateful and thankful. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. I know we're probably going to tread ground you've talked about 8 billion times.
Sure, that's fine.
But I mean, that's the nature of the beast. I want to talk about the first time I noticed you. Aside from that sounds super stalky. The first time I noticed you, hey, I was super into NXT. I think it was Bo Dallas that got me very, very into it.
Hell yeah.
The cocky heel like champion who wants cookies and refuses
to. Bo Leave, baby.
Oh, I still had my Bo Leave shirt. I saw you come out and sing your own entrance music. And I was like, this guy's got it. Like, before you said anything, I'm like, this dude understands wrestling. Like, when NXT was more, I'd say, developmental than a third brand at that point. Can you tell me about the idea of singing your own entrance?
I mean, it was different. I knew it was going to be different. So, like, in my whole thing, I had tried in FCW, then turning into NXT, tried kind of pitching different things here and there. But the one I had always kind of leaned on, because I'm like, I don't know anybody else who's done this. People have done similar things. There's a lot of examples of the highfalutin character, the kind of pretentious guy with, your Lanny Poffos, your Damian Sandow's, stuff like that. A lot of people, whether it's intelligence they're touting or their talent or whatever, there's a lot of that. But I'm like, the angle I wanted to go, which I knew was different, was I have this theater background. I'm a theater geek. I'm like, wrestling is theater. There's that whole aspect of it. And then I was going to try to play. We never really full on went this route, but my inspiration kind of for the presentation on screen and everything was, which is so stupid looking at it. I love it. I love it even more now. Because this is at the time The Rock had kind of moved on to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I said, like 2012, 2013. Had made his a couple of appearances, but was kind of like gone. And even Cena was starting to do a little bit of that himself.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of resentment there from wrestling fans, from some of the big names are like, oh, they use this and then they go, a stepping stone kind of thing. And so I was like, what if we had a character who came out and blatantly was telling you, I'm using this as a stepping stone.
Yeah.
But for me to go to Broadway was going to be my thing of like, yeah, like this is how I'm going to get to Broadway, is fighting people in spandex, like
not working at it and going to New York City.
No. And not like, hey, like this is TV. So I'm going to jump to net television or movies or anything, which makes sense. It was like, this is the most backwards way to go to to do theater. I thought it was just kind of funny and absurd. So yeah, so that was it. I'm like, how I was really trying to because I wanted to be careful about, because wrestling especially with WWE, with gimmicks and everything, there's a big problem with pigeonholing.
Yeah.
I did end up falling into that eventually. Fine. But to be fair, at the beginning, so I kept trying to kind of half-ass that character. I would do promos on promo day and change my gear up a little bit, but it would still be I still tried to keep it tough guy wrestler a little bit, right? But okay, I'm in all black gear, but maybe I have the little theater mask like that big on the side of my tights, something like that. Yeah. Or okay, I have this, not a scarf, but it's this one, and I think it was Corey Graves actually, who at the time was still wrestling and everything, and I think was just like, dude, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it. You have he's like, get the beret, get the scarf, get the director's chair, get the clapper, kind of all this stuff, roses, all of that stuff. He's like, you got to just lean in, because otherwise, it's wrestling at the end of the day, and it is very base, and you kind of have to spoon feed people sometimes. But he goes, but people will get it. And so that's when I leaned, and I started wearing, I had velvet tights made. Yes. And I got the crushed velvet, and which I still have. And I got like the beret, I got the scarf. I did end up getting a custom director's chair thing. And I was like, what? Because I'm like, what's this guy gonna come out to? And I'm like, I remember listening through like the Muzak like track thing that they had, the library, and like, of course, there's about 18,000 versions of something akin to, you know, just rock and roll guitar number 42. You know what I mean? So I'm like, definitely not that. They had some like string stuff, but it was like weird beats. So I'm like, none of this really feels like good entrance. So I'm like, again, how am I going to stand out? I'm like, what if I just did it myself? And I wanted to do specifically parodies of famous musical numbers. And so that's what I did. And it was a lot of fun. But the tough part was, though, having to come up with a new one each time.
Yes.
I was like, oh God. I was like, and after it kind of took off, I'm like, every time I got to come up with something new. And that's when I started kind of I stopped doing parodies afterwards. I'm like, I will run out of the catalog like eventually. Yeah. So I kind of just started generically like singing words on my way to the ring kind of thing, like just general generic tunes that are just kind of carried through and ending with the WWE thing. But it's funny. I think I was good.
Yes.
Because I believe I felt not good at singing. I was terrible at singing.
No, you were good at singing.
No, I was not. I'm still not.
Fine.
I know I was not. I should go back and listen to that shit.
I'm living through nostalgia and rose-colored glasses.
Oh, dude, I am the perfect example of anyone will believe anything if you tell them it enough. Wrestling does that so well.
Yeah.
The number of guys, usually, luckily, they are very good at back it up, but who tell you they're the best in the world. And that's not a shot at him. There's just a bunch of people like, if you say it enough on TV, the audience eventually go, yeah, he's the best in the world. You don't have to wrestle one time, but if you say it, if that's becomes your catchphrase, that becomes the thing you say every single week. People, that's your persona. And people are like, yeah, that guy's the best. He's the best. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, I told everybody I was a trained singer. I was not. I never did a musical. I did one musical where I was playing a non-singing part and I had 2 lines. So yeah, no, I'm not the worst singer ever. I can kind of carry a tune, but I always tell people dude, you were so good. I'm like, no, I wasn't. Thank you for saying the nice thing. I wasn't, but I convinced you that I was. And I take that as a compliment. Cause listen to me and then put Josh Groban next to me. And that
that's an unfair comparison.
But that's a really good singer. If you're going to tell me, wow, you're a really good singer.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he's an amazing singer, I guess. He's like another level, but still, like, go listen to anyone on The Voice. I don't know, man. Like, there's a big
You were
difference.
A fine singer. And I say that as an old, like, really bad punk singer from like the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
You were fine. And it worked with the character. It made the character better.
Sure. Exactly. And the biggest thing, I can fake a vibrato. I do it. I do the half-assed way you are not supposed to do it, but now my body is so damn trained in it, I couldn't do it if you're not. It's literally, for those who don't know, it's a vibrato, that kind of shaky thing comes from airflow. That like when you're singing, you're expelling air with proper breath control, and it causes your whatever the palate or whatever it is to kind of vibrate, and it gives you a little timbre in there. Can never do that again. I'm not a trained singer. So I literally stress my throat and hold it and kind of with my like diaphragm. And when I get a good enough breath, I can hold it out and it sounds passable, but it's not real singing. So it's
real to me, damn
it. I know wrestling was all real until I just broke the fourth wall with that thing about my fake vibrato. I know.
The other wrestlers I've had on have broken the fourth wall like 20 times. It's,
of course,
you have to. And you were coming up on NXT where like I consider that the Wild West, where it was all like Juice Robinson was CJ Parker, a guy who loves the planet. You know, Leo Kruger was out there, who was essentially Kraven the Hunter from Spider-Man. You're coming out during a time when everyone's gimmicks are so loud And I mean that in the best way possible.
Yep, absolutely.
And you're still standing out to me, which was fantastic. Like, how did that feel for you, kind of being in that spotlight when you're surrounded by such grand personalities?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I credit a lot of that to, I mean, Hunter, of course, was guiding, Triple H was guiding that whole thing. But Dusty Rhodes, man, was big in that. They, as you can see by who was on TV, it was, dude, colorful characters. They wanted characters. They wanted to try to return to that a little bit. And so, like, everybody embraced it. Yeah, CJ Parker saving the planet, Tyler Breeze, the male model, you know, another trope we've seen before, but he did it so damn well. The Ascension, especially the early Ascension, were so cool and like ominous and wild presentation. So many, Leo Kruger, who is, oh god, you get
so good.
They only scratched the surface of that character too.
Yeah.
I can't believe, like, Adam Rose was fun for a second, but holy crap, his Hunter character thing.
It was scary, like legitimately scary.
And you didn't see half the promo. Like, we would cut just on like in our training, in our classes on a weekly basis. Like, dude, like everyone's like sitting there like just on their edge of their seat. Like, he's just him in like this dim spotlight, pulling at his hair, like talking about how he was abandoned in the woods and like his mother murdered in front of him and all this. Saying it with conviction and believability. That was just like, dude, I don't know, huge misboat thing there with him. But yeah, so many loud, interesting. That's a part of why I knew, I'm like, I can't just do a half-assed version.
Oh,
of this. In addition, you got to go all the way, and that is what got me on TV. And there was a lot of people who said, they were like, when it happened, Regal absolutely loved it. I remember Alex Riley telling me at the time he absolutely loved it, and a lot of people have been like, Vince will love this, is what I heard a lot. And I do wish I would have gotten a chance to maybe, I don't dislike the fact that I stayed down there longer and ended up doing the tag team thing, but I would have loved to see what I could have done if I would have been maybe brought up prior to that with the Aiden English character, with the Drama King character kind of thing, doing what I was doing down there, and like maybe getting a little bit of a proper, like, similar kind of thing, but doing that on Raw, like before they threw us out there as the Vaudevillains, and it very much sunk. And so then by the time I got a chance to do it on my own, I was already kind of in the boss's mind a less than quantity. So like, but it would have been fun to see what could have happened if I would have been able to kind of debut on the main roster with that presentation. But it was a cool, that whole time in NXT, that 2013, 14, 15, 16, was very, very cool.
Yeah.
It was such a weird thing. It was like a punk rock thing, but corporate, because we're under the same flag as the WWE, but there is this feeling, especially, and I credit a lot of to guys like Sami Zayn, like Kevin Owens, who came in with the reputation on the independence they had, but then working with all of us and loved working with all of us, and like making it feel like I would talk to him all the time about how like this is we're always trying to give we all work for the same company, so of course same goals and everything, but we're also trying to give our little FUs to the main roster, especially when we started doing takeovers and stuff. There's a little bit of and you know what, I'll give Hunter a lot of credit to do that too. He gave a lot of he wanted that that environment. I remember multiple takeovers where especially when we started doing them like the Saturday before, like the night before, usually in the same building, and it'd be like, make those motherfuckers follow that. He's like, make them nervous. He's like, I'm helping run that show tomorrow. He's like, but I want you to make them step their game up, kind of thing. And we did that a lot, it was a really, really, really cool time. Really great camaraderie there too.
Yeah, there was a few manias that I had to go cover for work, and we'd go to the NXT show the night before, and like we get to watch it as fans, and I wouldn't have to be there like typing away in a press box. And it was during that time so enjoyable to watch, just like, here's dudes I love from the independent scene, or dudes and women I should say I love from the independent scene. You know, here's people that were brought up in the NXT system that are fantastic. You get this amazing clash of worlds. And I liked the matches better than I did in WrestleMania, because I'm a person that came up during like, you know, Hulk Hogan and New Generation, which people don't look fondly back on, but like that's what I love from wrestling. I love big pompous characters. I like larger than life characters. Wrestling is great, but I'm a story and character guy. There's something for wrestling in everybody, you know? So seeing you all in NXT during that time, I was like, this is wrestling for me, a type of person like me. So thank you.
No, stop it.
Thank you to you.
Yeah, just
no
it
one
was
else.
all me. That whole time was, like I said, it was looking back on it. At the time we knew it. Thankfully we did know about it. We could feel all that. But the one thing about that I wish, and I do actually, literally, I do think it's changed today a little bit. And I think COVID actually did have a lot to do with it as well. The way that whole thing NXT was booked and worked is what made it great. And not even just like story, because here's the thing: stories are good and bad, and that goes for like the main roster and stuff too. Sometimes you have this incredible bloodline streak, and then sometimes it's 5 months of like just generic number one contender title match, number one.
You know what's coming. Essentially,
it's right. So like, it's not even that. We did have great stories, but more so because one of the big that I always saw when we would do those shows, we would always piggyback off of Mania. We'd piggyback off of usually the big four: SummerSlam, Survivor Series. And one thing that we always heard and that we could always feel, and I was just talking about this on a stream of mine the other day, is those NXT shows were booked and timed so perfectly. They were less than 3 hours, and they usually had less than 8 matches. Usually it was 6, maybe 7. So everybody got time, but the show never dragged.
Yeah.
So everything felt important. Everything felt good. It told what it needed to do and everything. Whereas the WWE, especially on the big shows on the main roster, felt very bloated. And a lot of that is like a logistical thing, which I totally get. And I appreciate WWE for doing this, because it caused me to be on a few extra shows, especially those big ones. Man, like, they're trying to get everybody a payday.
Yeah.
Because when a lot of people who, when the contracts change and they get paid per event they're on, kind of thing. And so, like, if you're not on SummerSlam, you miss out on a potentially big payday. Even with all those people on the show, with the amount of money that show makes, it's a nice little bonus usually if you're on one of those big four. So like, that's why the Andre Battle Royal existed. So they just get everybody in a match. You can make a little extra, that as opposed, but in NXT, which we did have a little bit of a gripe with, because when we started like selling out Barclays Center and like selling crap loads of merch, but we weren't getting any more money, we did have a little bit of a gripe. But I will say the positive of the way that all worked was nobody was like, oh, shoot, if I'm not on the next takeover, like I'm screwed. I'm missing out on $5,000, $10,000. No, you're all on the deal you're on, and we're all just trying to put on the best damn shows we can, kind of thing. But like, so like SummerSlam, they'd have like 12 matches on sometimes, like, because they know, like, oh wait, shoot, we don't have anything for Cesaro. Okay, we got to get him in. Like Sheamus is knocking on the door. He needs to be in a match. Okay, so they juggle with that a lot. Their roster is much bigger and all that. So I did sympathize with that. I'm like, I know everybody's talking about, man, NXT is so much better, and we were, but logistically, it was a nightmare for WWE trying to get, like, especially on those big shows, everybody. I can't count the number of, like, again, and I'm grateful, like, random 8-man, 12-man tags I got thrown on, like, pay-per-view pre-shows, which again, I appreciate again for the extra booking, the extra payday, but like, it didn't need to be there. Like from a storytelling event standard, it didn't need to be there. But they would often try to get guys booked just to get them that extra payday. So that logistical nightmare that we didn't have to worry about, but it let us tell those stories, man. And everything, like I said, everything felt special as opposed to just like, hey, we got to cram everything into this big event. Like every takeover was special and stuff like that.
I know you've covered talking to people about wrestling 8 million, because when you're in the spotlight of WWE and you end up like out of WWE, that's all anybody wants to talk about. Out of the way. The real question for you is, I suggested in your Twitch stream a video to watch, which was Kota Ibushi versus Yoshihiko at DDT Pro. Did you watch that yet?
We watched a Kota match.
versus a blow up doll.
I was saying this is the blow. Okay, we watched a different. No. I've seen that match. We didn't watch that one on stream. I've seen the blow up doll match.
Okay.
We watched a guy wrestle a mascot from DDT as well. So no, but I've seen the Ibushi match. Yes.
Okay. What about the Invisible Man versus the Invisible Stan, and the referee was Bryce Rensburg.
GCW? Yes. So I actually I'm not going to out anybody in particular. I ended up getting.
Are you telling me it's not real? That
no,
invisible people didn't wrestle?
So, for the record, if you haven't seen it, I believe it's a GCW event.
It's GCW,
right? Yeah. 100%. If you're a fan of it, go check it out. It is fantastic. It is entertaining as hell. And I'm a big fan of Bryce and everything like that. I think he's very good at what he does. But I did have an argument with someone.
Okay.
Because there was someone who, and they wouldn't give, and it kind of made me mad because they wouldn't give up on it. And they were like, this is a match they should show to up and coming referees to show them how to referee. He's like, well, because there's no one else in the ring, you're really seeing what he's doing, and it's kind of over exaggerated. So I'm like, yes, but that's kind of like the problem. And like I felt so bad. I'm like, this match is so fucking entertaining, but but it's not a regular match. You
can't have Bryce doing that stuff in a regular match.
Yes, that's what my whole point. I'm like, this would not be good because I don't want my ref in a match where it's me and so for a championship, like putting on and going and like jumping, oh, like home. I love the referees. Subtle. The referees are, to me, are almost kind of like a little bit like we are as commentators too. Like they're the baseline of the song, right? They're needed there. They're an important part. But it's like, but we're not paying attention to them usually. We're paying attention to the lead singer, the guitar player. Those are the wrestlers, right? They're the ones giving us the bells and whistles. But if you took the referee away, much like if you take a commentator away, you are going like, wait, there's something missing here. It feels less full. It feels less, but it's not the star of the show. That's how I feel about, like, it's so important. It's so necessary, but it's not the focal point. So no, you don't want your referees being like, holy crap, they hit a power mountain. No, but you want them reacting. You want them being there for the guy playing that role. So that my whole point with that was, it's a fantastic match. It is a fantastic piece of entertainment. All the little clever spots they did with the guy diving off the balcony and
with Bryce just going like, no,
don't do it. That's one. And I've seen Bryce on like AEW. He's fantastic as a straight referee as well. But yeah, no, that match is absolutely it's one of those things. And I actually, interestingly enough, I had a match recently that caused a lot of people to get very upset in a similar mindset. And because wrestling it's such a funny little art form.
Yes.
Because it does involve very physical, very athletic things that are very hard hitting. I think there's a lot of people who dig down and dig their heels in on what wrestling should be, kind of thing.
This is my answer to that.
Because here's the thing, and like, it's not a sport. It's not a sport.
Yeah.
It's not a sport. I'm sorry. It's sport. It has elements of sport. All this stuff, like all that. One of my biggest arguments I used to have too with people was like, it's pro wrestling, not sports entertainment. And my thing was, it's the same thing. And I'm like, Vince McMahon, as flawed and many things there are about him, that was a genius fucking term that he coined. That is a genius, because that is exactly what it is. It's sports related entertainment. Because it's entertainment. It's a show that is we are not physically competing to hurt the other guy. We're not literally trying to pin their shoulders to the mat. Like, we're not, this is a show. You know what I mean? So it is not a sport. A sport requires a legitimate competition that people are doing within the rules to beat the other team, person, etc.
Yeah.
Like it a legitimate this is not that. This is performance art.
Yes.
Any way you shake a stick at it, pro wrestling is performance art. It's one of, if not the most physical form of it, and you need to be incredibly athletic to do it, even at a base level. But it is an art. It is a performance art. So in that regard, it's very much interpretive. But to see people will watch matches like that and poo-poo it very much, and it's funny to see, for me, when people pick and choose to do that.
Yes.
because some people seem to be like, they love when so-and-so does that. They might love because it's GCW, and they have kind of this really cool rep going right now. They built up this great momentum. So there's people like that. Well, yeah, that's hilarious. Wrestling is fun. Wrestling is everything. But if this promotion does it, this is a disgrace. Like you call that pro wrestling? It blows my mind, because I recently had a match that I'm incredibly proud of over at Progress Wrestling in the UK, that we very much took the performance art aspect of it to heart, and a clip got shared of it, and it was one of the more, if you didn't know what was going on, clips, people like, what is it? But people decided to just trash and try, like, this is why this company sucks. This is an embarrassment to wrestling. You should be embarrassed of yourselves. You should be ashamed of yourselves for calling yourself wrestlers and all this stuff like that. And I went through a lot of emotions, because at first I've been dealing with this for over a decade, so it was bada bing, bada boom. Then they kept piling on, and there's that little part. He's like, shoot, did we go too far?
Yeah.
Right. And then I finally reeled back, and I was like, no, of course not. And these are all the same MFers who, when Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and Jushin Thunder Liger, all people who I love and respect, were in companies like PWG and sticking their thumbs up each other's butts because it was a fun and ridiculous spot, and it that made that crowd go wild because they're playing with this idea of what wrestling is. Those same people loved that, but now when I'm doing it, it's an embarrassment and it's a shame. And like it makes me laugh almost more than anything, because but here's my biggest thing. I didn't mean for this to turn into a diatribe about like the concept of wrestling. I think there is a fine line of like, because I do see also a lot of people who like wrestling is supposed to be fun. And it 100% is. I do think there are some people who take that too lightly, and or like that make like, oh well, I can just do whatever I want and like make it like pardon my language, make it like a little jerk off. And I don't like that, because you can be as ridiculous as you goddamn want to be. It can be the most absurd thing, but you have to commit to it.
Yes.
There's so many people I think who like half-ass these interesting ideas, like, oh, wrestling's supposed to be fun, so I can just do this and tell people to do this, and like, oh, I'm gonna not sell this thing and everything. But I'm like, but why are you doing that?
Yeah.
If it makes sense, if you're telling me, fine. Like one of my favorite examples, one of the most absurd, I think I first saw it in Chikara, slow motion button.
Yes.
Ridiculous, right? But okay, fine. I need to accept in this universe that's playing out in front of me right now that Red Ant #2 or whatever that has a remote that can make everyone go slow-mo.
Yeah.
And if everybody commits to it, fine. It's ridiculous. It's absurdist. It's over the top, but we're playing all within those rules now.
Yes.
And everybody plays along and everybody does it. And then when they do it, they go back and then maybe we hit it again. Like that's fine. And what I mean is some people just get lazy and are just like, I'm just going to not sell this, or I'm just going to do this. Like, just do this thing like this because wrestling must be fun. So who cares if I don't, especially like, selling this move or this angle or whatever. What if I just laugh this off and throw a crappy punch here or there or whatever it is? Like, it's not wrestling being fun is not an excuse to be lazy or anything like that. I think it's a reason it's an interpretive art, but you got to commit to whatever you're doing, and you can just tell me that story, make it all fit within whatever little universe you're trying to do. So that's my rant about wrestling as performance art.
Here's my rant from the fan side of things. It's too tribalistic.
Yes.
Because people are just like, I'm only AEW, I'm only WWE, I'm only TNA. But wrestling is so much broader than those little boxes. You know, we talked about Chikara, we talked about GCW. DDT Pro is one of my favorite things ever. New Japan, Kaiju Big Battle. Like, there is something for everyone within wrestling. It's not just WWE. It is such a large genre of athleticism, I guess we can say, that I get so upset when people are like, well, I stick to this company because it's my brand. I'm like, there's so many. the three main companies, WWE, AEW, TNA, all do very broad things. I remember, what was it TNA doing where it was like the house that people were living in that was out of time and space?
Wrestle House?
It was Wrestle House. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was such a weird thing. And I remember emailing somebody at TNA being like, this is brilliant. And they're like, I don't think a lot of people like it. I'm like, no, keep doing it forever. I love it so much. It's
I
so
just had
bizarre.
somebody tell me like they should bring back Wrestle House.
They should. I like, and this is my perspective. I know it's not all wrestling fans, but I like when people in companies take chances on things that might not work, things that might be too silly. And if they don't lean in, like you were mentioning, into that silliness, it's not going to work the whole way. I feel like Wrestle House worked because everyone was just like, screw it, let's go.
Commit. You got to commit. I will give the big companies have pushed that a little bit. Like I'll give big credit to WWE on the COVID WrestleMania, the Cena Bray Wyatt fever dream. I love it. I still love it. I like that kind of a thing. And the cinematic matches, which I'll give a huge ton of credit to, like Matt Hardy with the deletion stuff that he did in TNA. Kind of thing like that really pushed an entire genre. I mean, got everybody's doing, like, we just watched another one between Orange Cassidy and Stokely Hathaway from 2019, I think, for the IWTV. Like they fight over the IWTV title or something like that. And like, again, so even independently, people are doing cinematic matches.
Yeah.
And with technology being better and better and more accessible all the time, people are able to do that even in a smaller scale. So like, yeah, people taking those chances. I believe it is, again, with any art form, you've got to take those chances.
Yeah.
And it's happening, to your point, at a far higher level, I think, outside of those main companies, because they've got, whether it's board of directors or shareholders or whatever, they're trying to be as broad as they can be, which I understand. But that means, just like with film, there's a lot, great independent film, theater, black box theater, stuff like that. Go out and see. There's the coolest, most interesting stuff sometimes in any given art is happening on the fringes. You know what I mean? And that's the same goes for wrestling and out in the independents and everything like that. Like the whole, there's always the promos these days from the big guy. And I get it. They're taking their easy lumps and whatnot, especially the established guys. When somebody does come up from the independents, like, oh, I was WWE champion when they were in bingo halls, right? Like that's the old adage. Yeah. I get it. It's an easy shot. But I'm like, you know what? The coolest shit is happening in bingo halls. I want to like take that power back. Like, you're damn right. Armories and bingo halls and parking lots. You know what I mean? That's where sometimes some of the coolest, weirdest, strangest, most interesting things are happening in pro wrestling.
Yeah, I did stand-up comedy for years, and all of my best memories are VFWs, a cosmetology school we performed at. So weird. No one was drunk. Everybody was sober, but still like one of my favorite shows. And then like weird charity fundraisers that I was super pumped about, where they'd bring out sick people at the end, and you would just feel bad about like, I have to make people laugh all night, and now they're bringing out people with the disease. And I feel kind of awful about like some of the things I've said, but
have you heard, it's pretty famous, the Birbiglia bit about doing like the charity thing?
I don't think so.
Oh, I forget what it just sounds very similar. There is an idea, like one of these things, he tells a story about he was doing a charity event, and like basically one of the things, he makes this gag or whatever. And of course, like, you refers to somebody in the audience. I forget exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And like, it's the other thing, they have the disease or something like that. So it's just like this dreadful moment kind of thing like that. So yeah. But all those weird little places, though, that's where all the most interesting things often happen.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have so many stories of like, I know a lot of people in the wrestling world know him, but Marty DeRosa and I doing like shows in basements where it says no moshing, and you're very confused as, why am I in this person's basement and why are there signs that say no moshing? And then also like shows I did with Marty where we're at a place called Tilted Kilt, which is Hooters but grosser, as I put it. Like it was just very misogynistic and sexist, and you just feel gross stepping in. But like, those are some of my best memories, are like doing shows with him and a few other people where you're really invested in the crowd. Again, there's so much crossover in comedy and wrestling. You're invested in crowd, making sure they're comfortable, having a good time, even if you're surrounded by some of the weirdest stuff in the world.
Yes, 100%.
Hey, let's transition over to Twitch because that's what I want to talk about. Because I like the fact that you're streaming, that you have made a name for yourself outside of wrestling within the world of streaming, and then you also have like a Discord with 700 people in it or something
like that. I don't know. Where are we at? I have it open right now. I don't even know how many we have.
I have the Discord open, I think, too, because I'm also in it, like a real weirdo.
Yeah. We've got
130 people on.
Yeah. Where's the off?
Where did it say 700?
570. Yeah, 570 off. So yeah, right around 700.
How'd you build this? That's a dumb question. You have no idea.
I just woke up one day and it happened.
I woke up, there was a Discord and everyone was in it.
So no, it was streaming started over after my release and in the middle of COVID when we were stuck in here. Big shout out to Xavier Woods, who kind of piqued my interest with it, and he'd already been doing. He was another early adopter before everyone and their mother tried Twitch in 2020 and 2021.
That's me.
Me too. Because it was there and there was nothing else, and so he helped kind of like give me like really quick tips on setting it up. And it started with literally, I'm gonna have to dig up the photo. I bring it out every so often because my first ever streaming setup was the desk I had in this office, which has totally changed, that had my PlayStation 4, the PlayStation camera, the TV from my bedroom that I would like unhook and pull off the mount off the wall and bring it in here, and like the world's cheapest gaming headset with the little microphone. And yeah, I streamed directly from my PS4, via the whatever the integration PlayStation had with Twitch on my crappy little PlayStation camera. And I remember I tried to play GTA 5 online for about 20 minutes and I had no idea what was going on. And then I played like Untitled Goose Game.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's so much fun.
And like, yeah, and again, I just told people, I was like, hey, well, I'm going to be home a lot. I'm going to be doing this. So if you guys want to come and hang out. And then I started, like with any, same thing with wrestling, man. Same thing happened to me with whiskey. It was one of those things where it was like, I think if I really get into something, I can't just like, I have a really hard time with a few exceptions, just being a fan. And I think it's kind of a problem sometimes. I'm like, all right, well, how can I do this? Like, do it as a gig, as a side hustle, as a project. Like, how can I like participate in this industry as opposed to just like, I just like doing this, or I just like this. So like I started following content creators and learning things. And I'm also I'm a big geek with like with toys, with equipment. I like the consoles and peripherals, and I was starting to get into like, what microphone is the best, what software do you is good to stream with all this stuff, cameras, lighting, I geek out about that stuff. So I would learn more and more, and very quickly I moved from that to I remember I got an iMac for the first time since like elementary school, when they had iMac, like the original giant like blue like iMacs that they like I remember it was such a huge deal in our like elementary school when the computer lab got iMacs and we could play Oregon Trail on those. But I got like one of those new iMacs. It was like because I'm like, I needed a computer because WWE took my computer away. Because I still
have my old work computer after getting right back there.
I was wondering because it was like I got released and I was doing commentary at the time, so they had sent me a computer to do if I needed to do like remote recording stuff. They use like GarageBand or whatever to record audio. And all this stuff, and we would do like our team VOD review and stuff on there. And so like I was released, and there was a couple weeks, and like nobody had said anything. So I was like, I'm like, it's WWE. They got millions. Maybe they don't care if I have this MacBook Pro or whatever. So I kept doing all my computing on there. And then like one day I just get a thing in the a empty box in the mail. I was like, please place laptop in this bag and seal it up. Like, here's your return label. And I was like, shit. So I had to get my own computer.
Come on, please. Just let me keep it.
Yep. I'm like, come on, the one thing, man. I'm like, it's probably used. You're probably out $1,000. Like, you just had your biggest quarter everywhere after firing me. So, like, come on, man. But no. So I remember I got an iMac. I was like, all right, because I'm like, the best way to stream, everyone says, is like you need to have overlays and all that stuff. And so you need a computer to run side by side. So I did that. And then I learned, I'm like, oh wait, Macs suck for streaming. At least at the time they did. So I was like, all right. So I literally sold that to a guy via Craigslist off the side of the road. And I gave it to him at a park outside.
Real sketchy.
And then I got my first PC, and then, oh my God, getting into all the PC stuff and everything. I fell in love with all that stuff. And now I have this monstrosity that's in front of me now, and just kept plugging away. And I found a couple of games that I really, really loved, because that's what I wanted to settle in. At first, I was very much like, and I know Adam Cole's like this. My streaming thing is, I really didn't want to talk about wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, I was happy to acknowledge it. I wasn't like, screw you, but I was like, oh, hey, I watched you wrestling. Cool. Thanks, man. Anyway, we're playing Overwatch here and stuff like. I really wanted to kind of keep it on that, because I was really discovering a whole new love of things that I didn't have before, that was under I didn't really explore a lot before.
Yeah.
So, and then through that, I made connections in other communities, and like there was a lot of cool not like a shit load, but like a lot of cool crossover with gaming and wrestling. There's like, again, it's wrestling again, as much of it as it is like a sport, like it's a big nerddom.
Yes.
Right. Like Trekkies, like comic book fans, like video game fans, like wrestling fans, they're their own little, it's a subculture. It's kind of a nerdy subculture, because there's characters, there's lore throughout some of these, companies that are very, WWF has its own lore and all that stuff. So there is that kind of like-mindedness between, again, like gaming fans and wrestling fans. So seeing that crossover was cool, and it just kept going, and I kept growing, and like anything, like it's had its ups and downs, but like I still like doing it. And that's the most important thing. And I've found this really cool, like I'm a small streamer, but like a cool, like within a tight knit community.
Yeah.
Of really cool people within my little group here. So it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah. I tried. I'm still trying, but I kept picking up contract jobs, and like, money comes first. But I found like 10 to 11 people who were there every time. People that hated wrestling that would watch me create wrestlers, or like they don't like Fall Guys, but all I would do is play Fall Guys and get mad. That's what I've loved about, I guess, Discord and streaming, is that you do find that tight knit community, and they glob onto you. And for the most part, they're all so nice. Yep. You occasionally get one asshole, but
sure. So like that, and that's one of those in a community like that, like in the internet at large, like on Twitter, there's you can't really do it right.
Everyone's an asshole on Twitter.
Everyone's an asshole, and like you block them, but they find ways around. And Elon Musk doesn't delete anybody, but whatever. But like in communities like this, where it's yours, like this is my Discord, I can curate it how I like. Your Twitch channel, in theory, is it's a very similar thing. So it is like, when those assholes do come up, and you're right, I mean, considering how many people have kind of just come through my stream, I can count on over the past 3.5 years, maybe not less, but I think like less than 10 times the number of people where I had to straight up like, oh, troll, like ban, get out. Like most people, it's either they're great 90% of the time, 7% of the time, there's somebody who comes in with the wrong attitude, and they get checked or whatever by me or my mods or other people in the community who are like, hey, knock that off. And they do, and they chill out. Or like I said, there's the 2 or 3% that are just there to troll or there to be a jerk, and you just buy, and then they're gone. They're banned. It's so you can curate your community, which is what I like about those platforms.
Yeah. I enjoy for me, it's 10% of people that come in to promote something else they're doing.
Oh yeah.
I tell my mods I tell my mod all the time, like, let them promote. Like, I don't care. This is such a small community.
Sure.
Like, let everybody promote everything. Like, especially with Twitter becoming the cesspool that it is, like, where do you promote anymore? Everything's so separate. Of course. So like, I don't care if 10 people are watching my stream. Let you promote whatever service you do. I don't care. As long as it's not a scammer.
Sure. Yeah. Or anything that person like offends you or anybody else or whatever. Yeah.
I'm a prince of Nigeria. I have 15 million USD.
Please click this link. And we'll send you $1 million to hold on to.
How are you enjoying just kind of full-time broadcasting at this point, but being on commentary?
I really do love it. I have found I probably shouldn't say this because it'll
And don't say
it. No. It's because I recently got back and I took a little break from wrestling.
Yeah.
And I've recently got back into it. I started doing a couple bookings with my old tag partner, Simon Gotch, as well as a couple singles stuff. And I still do have fun wrestling. And that was my whole edict coming into this most recent one. I was like, I'm not out here to try to prove anything or I no longer have that chip on my shoulder that a lot of guys have when they get let go from WWE. Is they pigeonholed me. They didn't really let me spread my wings as a wrestler. I'm going to show the world what I can do, kind of thing. I had that on my shoulder briefly afterward. And I think maybe when I first started with Impact and I was wrestling. But between the time I spent in commentary at WWE, which I really loved, I truly, truly did. And then the stuff I've done with New Japan and now with Impact, I really enjoy it. And I sometimes I wrestle and I'm like, oh. And I just physically I'm like, man, I don't know if I should do this today, and stuff like that. So what I found, and wrestling still sometimes makes me nervous to a negative degree, and that bugs me, and I feel shame about that because I'm like, man, dude, you've done this on TV, you did this on TV for multiple years, you're good at this, you can do. I don't know why you're so nervous about this. You can do this. But I still do, even at independent shows. Sometimes I'm going through my head. I'm like, all right, what? Don't mess up. Don't remember your spots. Remember, this is the go home and all that stuff. And that's always gotten me. And it never took away. I still had a lot of fun going out in there and doing some of the stuff. But man, that stress and that anxiety happened a lot, and it still does. Even I wrestled a show for 30 people this past weekend in the UK, and I still before the curtain, I had a lot of not unmanageable anxiety, but anxiety. I'm I was to the point where sometimes it hurts the excitement.
Yeah.
And I have found with announcing, while the kind of thrill of being in that spotlight in the match, you know what I mean, is lessened. So you don't have as much of that adrenaline rush there. I feel like I have almost the same level of excitement for the show that I did as a wrestler, with 20%, if not less, of the anxiety and stress. Cause I go out there cause it's I go out there, I have notes, but it is fine by this. I feel much more confident doing this, as if you can't tell people when I go start rambling. And if you come to a stream, there's a reason I enjoy streaming. I like talking. I always wanted to do that more, man. When I was doing the stuff with Rusev Day, I'm I love doing the singing intro. I'm I would have loved to actually talk for him more, because I love cutting promos. I love talking. I do not get nervous at all doing. That's the wild thing, is the number of guys I've met who are dude, put me out there for 20 minutes. Absolutely. But man, if I'm giving a promo, I'm lost.
Just shut down at that point.
They have trouble remembering lines. They can wrestle like that, but now I got to think about lines and points, what we're trying to do. That is where I thrive. I'm
well, that's having a degree in theater.
It doesn't help. Again, or it doesn't hurt. But yeah, it's funny how I started off wanting to be I wanted to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? I wanted to be the guy coming out, beating people up, hitting the music, wrestling the 20-minute main events. Then at some point, I'm I want to be Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
that's what I'm no, again, maybe the spotlight this isn't as big, but I mean, to have a career like that, I want to go out and talk and be respected for my promos and for the way I put people over and the stories I tell. And that gives me so much joy and thrill. And so when doing the commentary thing ended up kind of being a similar idea. And I'm yeah, I love this. And I can do it. I'm I can have a page of notes, and that's great. Or I can fly by the seat of my pants, and that's great. And when I have great partners, it's so awesome. And I will never, ever, ever forget. Right after the Rusev Day stuff, they split us up. Of course, they have nothing for me because I was not seen as the key part of that group.
Yeah.
So I'm immediately kind of off TV, but I'm like, I'm not booked on house shows because there's just no place for me on those. And I remember being really depressed at that point. And I would only go to TVs because they fly everybody to, regardless of whether you're booked or not. They just have all hands on deck. And I had those classic show up to sit in catering days, right? And I tried for a while. I tried pitching, the old pitch writers. Hey, I've got this idea for this. I got this idea for this, but you find out more and more how little power staff writers have and everything like that. So yeah, I had a lot of really depressing week. Like for the first time, I hated going to the airport. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Which it was a stupid little thing, but for me, when I started traveling with WWE, I loved it. As stressful as travel is, I got giddy over it.
Yeah.
Anytime we leave for a loop of house shows and then TV, it was like, it was cool. I felt so cool because I looked up to that kind of thing as a kid. I was like, to travel for a living was mind blowing. To have somebody is flying you somewhere. I'm not buying a ticket. They're paying for me to go to California, to go to New York, to go to Canada, to whatever it got. And then God forbid overseas. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like, even I remember I would get jealous of even fucking I don't know, lawyers who got to do that. You know what I mean? Like people people who get to do it for business, which I found incredibly boring. But as a job, but I'm like, it's just so cool that you get to get flown places for a living. So even if I was just like, I know I'm just doing house shows this week and wrestling Breezango for the 18th, 1,000th time, which I don't say that as a bad thing.
I love them.
I
worked with them so much at GameSpot. Like we would constantly have them in the studio. We'd fly them out to San Francisco to have them like, hey, you guys be on. I'd produce the segments. I'm like, just be on video. Just talk. I don't care what you do. It's going to be gold.
Yeah. So, but I would have there were a lot of those guys or teams that you would wrestle a bunch. So you're like, all right, we're doing this again. That never got repetitive to me. I loved it. I loved flying out and all this stuff. But it got to a point where, I was depressed because I was sad walking through an airport. I'm like, I'm going to go get there. I remember I was like, I'm going to land. I'm going to have to order food, which is going to have to be like Uber Eats. So it's going to be like twice as much as it's supposed to be. It's going to cost me $40 to order McDonald's. I'm going to go to the show. I'm going to make nothing but catering. I'm not going to be able to get a chance to talk to X, Y, and Z. And if you weren't on TV, your payment, your payday was pretty low. It was there's a bare minimum payment. And so it was that's a lot of people realize, even though you're a WWE guy, you got $500 to go to TV. And that's it. And then I'm like, well, I had to rent a car to drive to the building. I got to order some food. So I'm like, all right, well, there's $100, $150 out of my thing. So you work for WWE and you made $300 that week.
Yeah.
It's kind of demoralizing.
Yeah.
And so, and the biggest thing going through my head, and I didn't mean for this to get so sad, but,
as I explained, this show is about existential crisis and grief, mostly mine. But I'll take yours.
Okay. Yes, please suck up all my sadness and grief here. But no, but it's good because this is the impetus for other things. The biggest thing to me though was I was like, it's not that I remember kept telling myself, and it's true. It's not that I'm not a top guy. I can do. It's a circus. There's an act for everybody. I get it. It was just I'm not contributing. I'm not even working dark matches. You know what I mean? I'm like. I would like to be a part of the show. I'm like, this is what I'll be somebody's manager. I'll be somebody, I'll be the valet. I'll interview people kind of thing. I'm like, I want to contribute to this feels like nothing right now. It's just, it's demoralizing. And so when Tom Hannafin called me, it was Tom Phillips at WWE. And he was kind of behind the scenes was kind of overseeing the announcing department. He called me and was like, hey man, I was like, I know you're doing a little bit less because I've always thought you'd be good at commentary. You're always such a great speaker, such a well-spoken person. Why don't you come down and give it a try? And it's funny because I think I've told him this. He tried to do that with me in NXT because he was first an announcer for NXT, and he would do that. We'd try to grab some of the guys like, hey, I think you might be good at this. Why don't you come in the booth with me and do some stuff? And at the time, I very much remember being like, okay. I'm a wrestler, you know, that kind of vibe. Like you're like, oh, this is like almost like aware, like this is a scam to get me out of the ring. Like, right. Like, and I'm only, you know, I'm right in the middle of like my vaudevillain or like Aiden English run. And I think like things are going pretty well. And I'm like, I'm not wasting time doing that. And totally like either arrogant or just being stupid again, but worried in that like I'm not taking time away from the in ring to like to do so. I don't want you had this stupid mindset of like this is ammunition to get them to take me out of the ring. You're so close-minded that you don't see it as, oh, I'm adding skills to my resume. I'm adding things like, no, at the time, you're so tunnel visioned on like, I got to be a champion. I got to be this, that it's only wrestling.
Yeah.
And if anything takes you away, if they want you to like, oh, hey, can you interview so-and-so for this? Like, oh, they want me to be an interviewer. Oh, no. I'm not going to do that.
But is it that stupid when like you've worked to a pinnacle of, you know, you're on television, you're doing NXT, and yes, you do have tunnel vision, but like you're so close to that dream you've been working so hard for that, like, of course you want to work harder at that, and of course you don't want to add other skills because like you're just so focused on being the best in the ring, the best character you can be.
Yeah, and that is what it is. But fast forward, and like I think I was at that point where, again, like I said, my big thing was like I'm not contributing, and then so what's, you know, if you believe in God or everything, when closes the door, opens a window kind of situation, right? The wrestling stuff was really hitting the skids, right? And everything like that. I was trying everything I could, and it was really hitting the skids. And so Tom came here and opened a window, and I was like, you know what? Sure, let's do it, because I'd really like to try something new. I'd like to see if I can contribute in another way. And I remember going down to the performance center and doing one like in the booth recording, thinking I'll do this maybe next year again.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, because if it went okay, we'll do it maybe another time. But then getting a meeting with Cole and literally the next week, and he's like, we'll put you on 205 Live. And like the minute I started working with Vic Joseph and Nigel McGuinness, I fell in love with the art of it. They were, I don't know if I wouldn't have worked with those guys, and then having Tom as well, like as a kind of our manager, overseer, whatever, kind of in that, helping us, guiding us through that. I don't know that I would have stuck with it, but working with those guys, especially, it was such a fun dynamic, and they were so kind and so cool, and we bonded so quickly that it made me fall in love with all of it. And so all that to say, the most long-winded answer ever to your original question of like, I really like it. I tell everybody, because a lot of people are like, hey, you're doing the Vaudevillains again. When are we going to see you guys on TNA? Oh, I'd love to see the Drama King and AEW and everything like that. I was like, look, I'll go anywhere potentially if they want me as a broadcast. I think that's where I fit. I think that's where I fit long-term. I think that's where my value is added to any place the most at this point in my career. I still like wrestling. Like I said, I'm taking these bookings to have some fun, to enjoy, you know, perform for these crowds that I've loved doing it for. But like my long-term focus is still on being the best broadcaster I can be.
Yeah, that's perfect for you. This isn't the ass kiss show. I want people that I'm interviewing to know they are appreciated. I'm not trying to kiss ass.
No, you can kiss my ass. That's okay.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna kiss your ass then. You've got a good voice, and you're quick on the mic. That's perfect. That's all you need. Yeah. That's not all you need to be a great
right. But they're two key things.
Yes. So you've made a great decision. You know, yes, you still wrestle, but it is to me, it's a perfect transition for you as someone who's watched you. God, again, this sounds stalkery as hell, but as someone who's watched you grow on television.
We need to end this interview now.
No, this all stays in. Everything, even me.
No, I need to leave for my safety. I mean, is what I'm saying.
Hey, what are you doing later? We kind of live near each other. Oh shit. Oh, hey, let's just end the show there.
There you go.
There we go. Oh, Matt's very uncomfortable. Hey, plug all your things.
Oh wait, you're serious? Oh, okay.
Oh no, you want to keep going?
Well, you were starting a thought. So you were going to kiss my ass.
Oh, that's right. I was saying it was a
kiss my ass, then we can end the show.
Okay, yes. Perfect transition for you. You are great on commentary. You're much better than you think you are at singing. Aiden English was a wonderful character. Thank you for that. You're great in comment. I can't kiss ass anymore. I'm done.
I'll take that.
I'm done.
No, I appreciate it. And yes, it's felt very right and very natural. And so I'm very happy doing it. But yeah, no, it's been an absolute blast. And I will say this, there's also, man, chemistry is a huge thing too. And when you get in any kind of broadcast booth, I imagine, news anchors and stuff are the same way. So I've been very lucky with some wonderful partners. It's a huge shout out to Tom Hannafin, who is my partner over at Impact TNA right now. That was such a lucky get for them to get him.
Yeah.
And then when he came in and they asked me to join him, I was like, hell yeah. And like we've kind of both, just probably shouldn't put the, but we kind of both said like, I don't want to do this with anyone else kind of at this point. So like, we have each other's back and like, let's keep this train going and everything like that. So that chemistry is huge. I've been loving it.
Now you can plug all of the things. All of them.
No, I appreciate it. I hop around a little bit everywhere. Of course, the easiest thing to do is Drama King Matt on virtually everything. That's the Twitch, that's the Instagram, that's the Twitter, that's the TikTok, that is I think that's mainly YouTube technically, but I've kind of left that alone for now. But yeah, pretty much everywhere, Drama King Matt, or we didn't even touch on it, Wrestling with Whiskey. If you are into spirits and whiskey in particular, I'm a big nerd about that as well. So I talk about that. I have an Instagram and a formerly active YouTube, as well as a TikTok for that as well. So if you're a nerd of whiskey and stuff like that, go check it out. So Drama King Matt, Wrestling with Whiskey, come hang out.
Well, thank you for coming on and hanging out. 20 minutes past the time we were supposed to talk.
Hey, like I said, I'm a talker. I do it for a living. So like, yeah, you get me going, I'm going to keep going.
Well, thank you for coming on, and I won't see you next week, but I'll see the people listening next week. They can hear me.
I mean, unless you're watching me through the window because you apparently watch me all the time.
Yeah, I mean, no one out there. I checked.
There you go.
Hey, thanks to Matt for coming on the show. There was no intention to talk about wrestling this much for the entirety of the time, but that's how it went. I don't know if you know this. I have zero plans going into each episode of this show, and I'm just trying to have conversations with friends. Completely different than my interview style at GameSpot, where I had like specific questions I had to ask people. This show is just me going, hey, let's hang out and just chit chat. But thanks, Matt, for coming on the show. Thanks for the weird comments about me stalking you. Not true at all, but very, very funny to me as I was editing the show and realized, like, oh, this is pretty funny stuff. Anyway, opening song is called Gilded Age by The Muggles. Singer Tom Wanderer, guitarist William Ash, bassist Andrew DeParks. It's Andrew Parks, but in my phone he's Andrew Da Parks. And the drummer is me. Stay tuned. Next week, more episodes. Next week's the silliest episode. It's the very first episode of Movie Mayhem. It'll feature Chris Hayner, one of my closest friends, and another one, a person that's become a friend, AEW Serpentico. And we're watching the movie Blank Check and discussing it. I'm so pumped about it. Please rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts. I also have, if you are a paid subscriber to Substack, a new offshoot of I Just Want to Talk to Friends called I Read, in which I read things that you can read for free online, but you get my voice and my tone in writing format. Tom Wanderer is screaming so loud during this song. You can buy this album, muggles.bandcamp.com. It's on vinyl, and it's fantastic. It's, we recorded it in 2003. It came out last year. This year, it came out 2023. And I've already talked over the song. That's great. Muggles.bandcamp. It's only available on vinyl. I think it's digital too. I don't know. We'll see you next week. I'm going to shut up.